Hi, Cherie Hansen here. I am sharing with you what I've written on my blog, cheriehansen.com. I make videos of my blog and load those up to YouTube. This one is called, On February 6th, History Teaches Us How to Live. I felt the calm come over me when I was listening to the CBC interview with Eric Foner on the radio today. He is considered the preeminent American historian of his generations. He has 10 bestseller books so far. His careful historical analysis and many books allow for the long view of the history of the United States. He brings a keen intellect, a wealth of accumulated information, and a careful confidence to his analysis of the process of democracy in the United States. He began by saying, when you are president, you want to exert power. The type of individual that runs for office is motivated by those attractions of the office. Foner reassures his listening audience that the appetite for control is not new. He points to the structuring of the USA so that no single branch of government could voraciously consume human rights. However, there is a difficulty with the system that is evidencing at the present time with President Trump. The checks and balances can be run around. Foner points out that the problem is that currently the U.S. has the same party controlling all three branches of the government. Therefore, the checks to the usurpation of rights are not fully operative. But to those who scream out in terror that this has never happened before and only Trump has created this kind of threat, Foner responds with historical fact. Grave threats from within have always happened in the White House. In the aftermath of World War I, suppression of free speech was the law of the day. And more recently, many alive today can remember the televised live hearings conducted by Eugene McCarthy as he destroyed citizens' lives. Professor Foner points out that power without compassion is not a one-nation issue. Le Pen, Trump, Brexit are people who are aggrieved, and these people have risen up to answer the call. These are not populists at all. He vehemently objects to calling this swing to authoritarianism, right-wing reactionism, as populism. The original populists were not the 1%. Trump's government is a government of billionaires. Populist movements were about protecting services to the population, not removing methods of caring for the citizens. A movement is growing up around the world, and it is growing out of fear. Around the world, there is an appetite for the strong man on a horse. It goes back to the tension between belief in democracy and a desire for authoritarianism. He uses the long view of history to state his belief that the more authoritarian Trump becomes, the more likely for pushback from the population. He reminds the listener of McCarthy, George Wallace, Ross Perot. These were other versions of right-wing demagogues. Where is this desire coming for inclusion, compassion, and equality within U.S. history? Foner reminds the listener that in the 1920s, the U.S. tried to block the immigration of Italians. I also thought of black slavery, exclusion of the Chinese, imprisonment of the Japanese as other examples. This movement of reacting to Muslims, to those that are not like us, has happened throughout U.S. history. The dangers are always there. The people mobilized against immigration restriction. Mobilization is an action that is not new, and it is not unexpected within American history. The price of democracy is eternal vigilance, Foner reminds his audience. He points out the illogicality of holding two contradictory beliefs at once. We are exceptional, and everybody should be just like us, is what America is saying. John Quincy Adams had written, quote, "We don't go abroad to change other people into ourselves," unquote. America as a policeman was not the vision of the founders of the country. Chickens have come home to roost from our lack of democracy. We have a self-image which is not a completely accurate portrait. Trump has damaged the moral authority of the United States in the eyes of other nations. Tom Paine said clearly, "The U.S. is an asylum for the world." People are more aware of the deficit state of contemporary democracy. Political democracy has not been able to solve many problems. There is a serious democratic problem in the world today. The system was set up by James Madison in order to have a self-correcting mechanism. Slavery was abolished at the cost of 750,000 lives. It was not government that changed slavery. It was individual people fighting. Ordinary people have a right to make judgments about their own government, and ordinary people will show up to adjust the vision of what the national identity is in the world. Democracy is alive because of constant revisioning and corrections when the ideals of the founding fathers have been forgotten. The nation has done it before, and Foner believes the people will speak out and protect the country that was formed specifically to be a sanctuary. Thank you.